Shakespeare and Bernard Hickey, who I listen a lot to, call it a soliloquy. Some call it an aside. My Rarotongan friend calls it a nuti purapura. They're shining starlit pieces of gossy news. And where I come from, we think of it as a talk into the fire and call it he kōrero noiho. A little story before we get down to business. So this is tā mātou tēnō mokopuna, Bobby Moana, with my mother blowing out my mother's candles at her 91st birthday last year. My father wants to know why he isn't in the photo. And I have to point out, this is my Te Whāriki image, because it's not about him, and really it's not even about my mother. It's about the mokopuna and her being at the centre of our celebration of Mother's hurito, her birthday. Koutou katoa, everyone. There are 5 generations between the two of them, and they each already know they have roles and responsibilities that begin within our whānau that help make both of them ready to go and meet the outside world. Next slide, please. Ki ngā uri o Taranaki Maunga, ngā mana whenua o enei whenua, tēnā koutou, tēnā koe Kurt, tēnā koe Lou, tēnā koutou, mō koutou manaaki, me ngā hāpai kia mātou katoa. Kia rātou kua wehe atu, haere atu, haere atu, hoki atu. Kia koutou ngā manuhiri tuārangi o Rāwāhi, tēnā koutou, nau mai haramai ki Aotearoa, New Tirani. Kia koutou ngā kaimahi katoa, I poipoi te mana, te wehi, te mauri o ngā mokopuna. Ngā tamaiti me ngā whānau o rātou. Nei te mihi o hikurangi maunga, kia koutou. Nei aku mihi āroha kia koutou. Kia koutou katoa, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Te whāriki and te tiriti o Waitangi, a praxis approach to our Aotearoa identity. We're at the end of the first quarter of this 21st century. We're experiencing what the weatherman describes as weather on steroids, which is what's turned us into an online hybrid event, gale force winds, flooding and torrential rain. They feel like they're coming harder and faster and more quickly. Next slide, please. And as we prepare for our Anzac remembering, tragically, another war marches on, and it matters. And then, of course, I read the latest news headlines. The Herald states, Treaty of Waitangi Clause Review. Government quietly agrees to amend repeal provisions in laws. Te Ao Māori headlines its news as analysis. Government set to reduce treaty in legislation to lowest possible standard. Next slide, please. Perhaps then we should not be so surprised, even after the 18th of November hikoi. Our Te Tiriti business is still not done. And the record of schools and ECEs and kindergartens and kohanga who have decided they will be accountable for their tiriti practices, that work carries on. So this inspirational gathering today of committed women and the supporters of women. Next slide, please. Mo te ako o te, mo te ao o te mokopuna convinces me te whāriki and te tiriti aren't just documents. They're the blueprint for how we can do identity here in Aotearoa. This theory-informed doing has as its pillars of practice foundation and te whāriki as the methodological tool. Te Tiriti o Waitangi as the founding document of this nation provides the why and the how of our shared existence here. In a praxis model, it's not treated as a dry historical document. It is a living framework for rangatiratanga, self-determination, and kāwanatanga, governance. It sets the ethical requirement for a bicultural partnership between tangata whenua and non-tangata whenua o tangata treaty. Te whāriki as the methodological tool doesn't just mention Māori culture. Its very structure is woven from Māori concepts. Through the reflexive actions and practices of our kaimahi, who initiate the weaving of our achievement aims, as my father calls them, ngā taumata whakahirahira, our te whāriki goals, and ngā kaupapa whakahaere, our te treaty, our te whāriki principles, the intentional everyday actions of our kaimahi with each other, our mokopuna, te Maitai, and their whānau are what transform our classrooms, our learning moments, into a micro-society where the treaty isn't just a history lesson, but something lived and breathed and practiced daily. Next slide, please. So I'm a big fan of praxis. It is a cycle of reflection, action, reflection. When kaimahi educators and citizens, and you and I, apply these two frameworks, transformative shifts occur. The essence of transformative shifts, to tip it over, shake it up, and create new, enduring, and accommodating responsive institutions. In this framework, biculturalism becomes a practice. You accept you are the first person of your own cultural practice. The Bible happens with everyone else. In the whāriki model, a strand's value is defined by its relationship to the strands around it. This is opposite to Western individualism and challenges us to accept that environmental protection, te kōrero o te ao, is a te treaty obligation because the land is our shared place of belonging in every sense a taonga. Decolonising universal Western theory, it happens daily and opens new ways of understanding success and recognises that being a multicultural society doesn't replace biculturalism. Rather, the treaty provides the ground upon which all other cultures find their place and safety. Active treaty partnerships are mirrored in debates around co-governance and how we share decision-making in areas like health and environmental management. And let's not forget, I said are mirrored in debates, holding the conversations and taking them forward. So good weaving requires tension to be strong and consistent. Transformative shifts will always encounter pushback. These are the tensions and frictions, I think, that occur when different worldviews continue to seek shared patterns. The praxis here is staying at the weaving table, even when the work is difficult. Next slide, please. So the Treaty of Waitangi isn't just a piece of text on a table. It's the very ground upon which te whāriki, the curriculum, our community, our shared future is woven. It is the entire underlying structure that supports our understanding of Aotearoa's place in the wider world. One of the most beautiful aspects of the te whāriki metaphor is the idea that the mat is deliberately left unfinished, with loose strands ready for the next generation to weave. This acknowledges for all of us that our identity isn't a static, historical fact, but a constant, active process. So when we nurture every child's sense of self by connecting them directly to their place and the promises made between people, I believe we are firm. Whakaaro ki te whenua, whakaaro ki te tangata. Manaaki ki te whenua, manaaki ki te tangata. Thoughtfulness for the land, thoughtfulness for the people. Practices of care for the land, practices of care for the people. I hope this little kōrero has added to te ao o te mokopuna, and in my mother's words, te whāriki, a tapestry of life available to anyone and everyone. I raro i te manaakitanga o te wā. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora, thank you.